Well, we had a great day yesterday, and it was because of all of you and all of our presenters and panelists. We're going to have an even greater day today. We start the morning off with two speakers, the first of which is an individual that I had the privilege and the honor to work with a few years ago. And he is an individual who has the utmost integrity, and he is a true patriot. I'm speaking of Ambassador Pierre Richard Prosper. He was the U.S. Ambassador at Large for war crimes from July 2001 to October 2005. A fairly challenging time in our history. He's only the second person to hold that position, and he came to the job with vast experience. He had been a prosecutor in the Department of Justice, and he had been a prosecutor with the UN International Tribunal for Rwanda. Great experience internationally. He had been detailed to the State Department. So when he became the ambassador at large, he was the perfect pick for that job. In that position, he advised the Secretary of State directly and formulated U.S. policy responses to atrocities committed in the areas of conflict around the world and other areas around the world. As the President's envoy, he traveled worldwide engaging heads of state and international organizations to build bilateral and international support for U.S. policies. As part of Ambassador Prosper's travels, he visited affected countries and used a range of diplomatic, legal, economic, military, and intelligence tools to help secure peace and stability and build the rule of law. After 9/11, he played a key role in the war on terrorism as the chief negotiator and lead diplomat for the United States in engaging nations regarding their nationals captured in combat. He also had primary responsibility for policy on Iraqi war crimes. He is a graduate of Boston College and Pepperdine Law School. He is currently with the law firm of Art Fox in Los Angeles. Please help me welcome Ambassador Prosper.
Good morning. Well, Dean, thank you very much for the kind introduction, the kind words, inviting me here. It's my first time here. And also thank you for all you do. I join the voices of those here who pay tribute to your efforts. I remember back when we were in Washington, you were a true friend to my office, the Office of War Crimes Issues, a supporter by detailing some of your officers, JAG officers, to advise me throughout the 5 years I was there. You're a champion of the rule of law, and of course a great ally in some of our classic bureaucratic battles on some of these significant issues. So I do also want to lend my voice and pay tribute to you. Well, this is a great way, in my view, to end the week, discussing some issues that are of fundamental concern to the United States. And it's great to look out in the audience and see some old friends, and also to see many of you here in uniform who are out there serving our country and are trying to do what is right for each and every citizen. We know that these issues are complex. We know that we are in search for the right answer, which may not be readily apparent today. It may not be readily apparent tomorrow, but with time we will get there, because we are dealing with issues that continue to be issues of first impressions, and we're trying to strike the right balance and sort through this. We also know that these issues can be emotional. In fact, last night, on my way here from Salt Lake to Kansas City, I was on one of those small 20-seat planes, and I sat down and put out my materials to get prepared for my remarks. And a woman sitting next to me, she leaned over and she said, "Excuse me, sir, I'm sorry to snoop, but what is that you're working on? And she apparently saw the brochure for the symposium here. And I explained it to her. And then she immediately lit up with anger. She was an activist. She began to say, the United States is completely wrong. We are torturing all these detainees. These detainees have rights, and we need to give them rights. We need to bring them back to the United States. They are innocent. So you can imagine my surprise. You know, the first thing I did was I located my nearest emergency exit. When realizing that I couldn't get off the plane, I introduced myself. I said, "Hi, I'm Tom Romick." Yeah. But then I did actually the only thing that I could do, and really that was to begin to tell the story of how we got to where we are today. And I think that's the only way to really assess the U.S. detention policy, evaluate it, and begin to formulate ideas as to what we should do to move forward. As the Dean mentioned, I played a lead role on the question of the detainees. In fact, the short version is right after 9/11, I was called to the White House and asked to put together an interagency committee to begin to study these questions. You know, what are we going to do with these individuals? We looked at the questions of the prosecutions as well as the detention. I will not discuss the prosecutions here because I know that will be addressed, or they will be addressed in other panels. But we began to evaluate. We brought people from the General's office. We brought people from Justice, CIA, all the various agencies, and began to evaluate. What we knew at the time was that we were going to pick up detainees. We knew that. It happens in war. They were not all going to be killed. We predicted, perhaps, that we would pick up roughly 300, 400. We just picked a number, to be quite frank, and as we know, those numbers are dramatically off. But what we did not anticipate was that we would effectively pick up 300 plus detainees overnight. What happened is, as we began to prosecute the war, and I think, General, you'll remember this, Thanksgiving weekend, I was at my parents' house in New York. I get a call from the Vice Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Pace, and they said, "Hey, Ambassador Prosper, we are in the middle of an offensive right now in Mazar-i-Sharif. We've picked up 300 detainees, Al-Qaeda. What are we going to do with them?" General Tommy Franks has given us a clear directive to get them out of the theater of operations. General Tommy Franks said he does not want to be in a position where he's going after Al-Qaeda, after bin Laden, and then he has to look over his back and defend a detention camp where we have suspected Al-Qaeda members. So I went back to Washington and we began to look around. So, okay, what can we do with these individuals?